Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Thirsty Thursday. I am Jim with the Maryland Distilleries Guild, and we are here talking about Maryland spirits. We've got another great week ahead of us, and we figured with a wonderful weekend, we might as well bring in some truly unique Maryland distillers and talk about a very unique product that's being made here in the state. A couple of weeks ago, we talked to Taka out at the American Shochu Company, and we know that the product that they're making there is one of a kind almost in the country, and definitely one of a kind here in Maryland. And we're very honored to be joined today by Angel and Crystal over at Puerto Rico Distillery, who are going to be talking to us about their extremely unique spirit. Thank you for tuning in with us this afternoon. How are you?
We're good.
We're busy, but doing good.
Staying busy, yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat today. We'll get you back to work as soon as we can, but I wanted to give you both the opportunity to tell the story of your new distillery in Frederick and tell everybody about what's going on. You have a wonderful family business here, and I think that everybody needs to hear more about it.
Perfect. We appreciate the opportunity. This is my business partner. She's my youngest daughter. She's a smart cookie, and really the reason why the distillery is already up and running. The distillery is something that we have been wanting to work for a number of years. I have a day job. I'm still holding my day job. I was trying to make it work on my spare cycles, which I didn't have many of. Crystal worked for the National Restaurant Association. Before that, she worked for the Maryland Restaurant Association. I had a lot of passion for starting her own business, decided to join me in this endeavor, and she basically made it happen herself. So
he's being modest. Couldn't do it without him. And a little background on, I guess, us as a family and PRD, Puerto Rico Distillery, and how it came to be. He's former military, Navy. So I was born on the island, and I was about a year old when we started moving around. Florida twice, Maryland twice, Massachusetts, Japan, and all throughout our moving around, my parents always had a big emphasis on my sister and I being rooted in our culture. So we would go down to the island to practice the language, we connect with our family, and all that stuff. And of course, part of us learning about the culture when we came of age was learning about Pitorro. So, mainlanders know moonshine to be corn whiskey, things of that nature. But when we're talking about moonshine on the island, we're talking about rum. So it's known by a few different nicknames: Pitorro, Lagrima del Monte,
Pitriche.
But it's really big there. When it came of age, my grandfather, who used to do blending, he taught him, Ba taught me. So that became a part of us, like, bonding with the family. And it got to the point where we didn't want it to just be that, 1 or 2 times a year that we were visiting the island. We were, asking ourselves, how can we make this a year-round thing? How can we bring the island experience here to Maryland?
Yeah, she said it perfectly.
Yeah.
No surprise there. So I would like to point out, when we came to visit you a couple of weeks ago, you were generous enough to host our team, and we came in and toured around. You were telling this fascinating story about how this was a truly cultural product. This is something that is like the spirit of the I mean, we call him like the lawbreaker here, but the moonshine, the non-taxed spirit, and you're bringing that and capturing that flavor and bringing it into a commercial product that is legal, which is great. But I find it very interesting. I was looking at some of the nicknames for this product today, and the Tears of the Mountain, and I think you said it just a minute ago, Crystal.
Yeah.
And I'm in West Virginia right now at my in-laws' family home, and we're talking, and I'm thinking, oh, the moonshiners here called it Mountain Dew, and you guys have Tears of the Mountain. Like this beauty, this crossover between the culture of the moonshiner is really cool, and I think that that's really rich history.
Yeah.
So you were saying that a majority of this is made by people at home, but rather they would get this product, the Pitorro, and take it home and infuse it themselves to have the flavors that they prefer.
Typically the person that is doing the distilling isn't necessarily the person that is doing the infusing. You know, that's kind of where my grandfather fit into the picture. He was the more of the infuser in that picture, it's such a big part of the culture that now there's a time of year that you can actually you can go to the government legally.
You can be a moonshiner the same way you can brew home beer, but only for the holidays, because they recognize that it's such a part of the culture that it was happening anyway. So might as well give at least temporary permits so people could actually do it, and they can gain some revenue from the taxes, at least during that time frame.
Right.
And then they can go and hide themselves. But I have to say that I've spoken to a couple of folks, and there's not that many people that are interested in doing that, because most of the people that do it throughout the year, they do it clandestine. So in essence, by asking for that permit for those couple of months, they're really putting themselves on the radar.
Right. I can totally, I personally wouldn't do that, but I can understand where that motivation might lie. And I was also noticing when I was reading about it that this seems to be something that pops up quite prevalently around Christmas. It's something that a lot of Puerto Ricans use as a celebratory drink or something around the holidays. Is that kind of the case?
It was not so much anymore. It used to be that the Pitorro, people looked for it more during the holidays because it was so special that they wanted to reserve it for those special days and those special holidays. But I would say probably maybe like 15 years forward to today. It is a spirit that on the island is sought out all year round, and in essence, really at any festivity or any special event that you'll find that people will actually bring their own formulations, right? Their own recipes and their own moonshine infused with their family's flavor or their own personal recipes. So down there's a bit of a as Crystal was talking about, there are the people that actually produce the moonshine, and usually that's all they do. Some of them have, for example, most of them historically has been men doing it, and then their wives actually would have a side business by infusing flavor into the rum and then also selling flavored rum. But for the most part, the majority of the people on the island know somebody that makes it moonshine, and they go to their location and they buy it, and then they take it home and they do their own recipes and their own flavoring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially if you're in the diaspora, anytime that you go down to Puerto Rico, it can feel like a holiday. So yeah, it's definitely a year-round thing.
And I understand that the infusion portion of this experience is something that you are trying to cultivate with your customers. Everybody who comes in is learning about this tradition, and you're trying to hand that off to them and ask for their input as a part of this experiment with this great new spirit. Tell us a little bit about that. What is the goal of having people become engaged with their drink and being a part of that story?
Yeah, when we first started talking about what we wanted Puerto Rico Distillery to be and to kind of cultivate as an experience, there were kind of three main pillars that stood out to us, and that was family, obviously, culture, and tradition. And so that a lot of that is focused around the community and kind of building those relationships. And so when we got started and COVID happened and we had to figure out how to foster that environment virtually or distance, we decided that we would start doing Facebook Lives and teaching people through video how to do their own infusions. A lot of people may express interest but be intimidated at the notion of possibly taking an entire bottle, and what if I mess it up? And so we wanted to kind of take out some of the intimidation factor and to help with our lessons that we learned.
So the model that I shared a minute ago, where there's the moonshiners produce the rum, And then maybe somebody in their group would add flavor to it. So they would sell the unflavored and they would also sell the flavored one. That we're trying to replicate that, right? We're doing it in a legal way, but in essence, that's what we're doing. So our clear Clandestino rum is our version of us just producing the moonshine and having it available for people to do their own thing with it. But we also, because some people don't want to produce their own rum, so we're actually coming up with our flavored versions of it. But in keeping with the tradition, we also want to share that knowledge for people to actually produce their own flavors. So, we started a YouTube channel, and we're teaching people how to make it with fruits, like this one here. That was kiwi. If you missed it, it's kind of hard to miss with the green colors. This is pineapple and almond. So this is a combination of fruit and extract. The same way for pineapple, coconut and ginger. So the reality is, one of our slogans is that you can actually take our product. We're probably maybe one of the few distilleries that wants you to take our product and change it. We want you, based on the tradition, right, for you to actually use our white rum as a blank canvas, and for you to use the traditions and the recipes in order to actually make it your own. Make it artisanal from your standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I think we lost sound.
Sorry, I didn't click the unmute button. I continue to do that. I'm curious, what makes your base white rum different from traditional white rums that most people may see in the marketplace? So let's start there and then talk about Clandestino, the product, and then we can talk about how you build these infusions up. I think that would be a kind of a good way to go, because your spirit is so unique and it's so tasty. I think that knowing what the base is would be a great foundation for everybody watching.
Do you want to take this or me?
Absolutely. So I'll kick it off, and then I'll hand it over to Crystal. So if I'm assuming most people that are watching this know about rum, and you know that most white rum is very neutral, and you smell it, and you obviously smell the alcohol, but you don't necessarily note any tones or anything like that.
Yeah, not quite a vodka, but it's pretty cocktail friendly.
Right, it's very, very neutral, so it doesn't necessarily have any flavors to add to the cocktails. Pitorro, if you know about Pitorro, you're looking specifically for certain things. You're looking at for a sweet nose, a peppery nose, sort of a grassy notes. It has a character that is very distinct and unique to Pitorro, and Crystal has gotten good at explaining it. So I'll stop there. But I'll say that even the clear rum, you'll have it, and even after you add the flavors to it, you still have that. So it's very distinct in that regard.
So yeah, it's from sugarcane molasses, and we keep it at a high proof of about 100. And then when you're smelling it, you're gonna get some grassy notes, and you're definitely gonna get a little more funk to it. I prior to going down this entrepreneurial distillery endeavor, was very much singularly focused on Pitorro itself. So I couldn't compare it to other regions. I've been since then studying and absorbing books, podcasts, learning from other masters. And so according to Tyler, who's a master bartender, he said that it was similar to like a rum agricole in the funkiness of it. But yeah, it's definitely not a neutral spirit. So you're going to get a lot more character and a lot more personality to it.
And it is strong, 100 proof, but it is also smooth. So you obviously will notice that you're having a rum that is strong, but it is not going to be harsh at all to the palate.
Yeah,
and those notes
will
come through.
Anything else?
Sorry, we had a brief technical glitch there. You guys froze for a second, so I was trying to switch the screens back so it wasn't just both of you in stasis. I think it's very interesting that the intent of this spirit is that it's served at a higher proof, correct, than most traditional rums are served. Is part of that due to the fact that the intent is to infuse it, so you may have some dilution as you're adding ingredients, or is the intent that you just wanted something that was the intent for it to be strong just because?
Yes. So I think the second one happens as a result, right? So when you add, for example, our first flavored rum, which is the traditional recipe that my dad taught me, even though it's a strong rum, you can sip on it and it is very smooth, even though it's strong. The intent to actually have it strong is really, again, we're trying to root everything on the tradition and the culture. And the reality is that Pitorro, just like Moonshine, tends to be strong, right? It has that as part of its history, as part of it, the process. Moonshiners tend to, take it out and then they try it and they might proof it down a little bit, but there's not that much attention paid to taming it down to the point where people are going to have it and not realize that it's a strong rum. They're okay with it being a strong moonshine whiskey or bourbon, whatever it is. Well, we're okay with it being a strong moonshine rum.
Yeah.
But again, it's still smooth, even unflavored, based on the character of the rum. And then when you add the flavors to it, it does a lot to bring it down. So it is a nice sipping rum.
Well, there's that, and there's also, I think, in a historical context, Pitorro was typically enjoyed by like jibaros. Like jibaro is basically
the farmers,
or kind of Puerto Rican hillbilly.
Right.
So Mom needs my keys. Oh, sorry.
So while she gets the keys off, I'll say that it is intended to be strong, but again, sort of the character of the rum is part of. We have something that we call Pitorro stories, right? And that is that even though we understand that the rum, after it's been infused, it still has the proof, but it is a lot more palatable and very smooth and tasty because of its fruity flavors that you infuse to it. So we warn people that it is high proof, but when it has been infused, and especially after it ages some time, people get in trouble, right?
It's delicious, and people forget.
They start
we
sipping.
Say it's a sipping rum. But
they sip a lot, and there's stories about people not remembering that the following day what happened after a night of tasting some delicious Pitorro.
Yeah, so enjoy responsibly.
Yes.
I like to think that I did not overdo it, but I did have an occasion where I had a few sips of the rum, and it is absolutely lovely. You are not kidding when you say it's something that's very smooth, despite the fact that it is a higher proof spirit. It's a fantastic drink. So I'm very encouraged that you're hitting that nail on the head if that's what you're going for. So, Angel, why don't you tell us about the brand identity, what the name of the spirit means, and kind of some of the really unique things that you and Crystal have integrated into this label. We learned a whole lot about your brand when we were there talking about just the label design and the design of your logos. Can you share that with us and kind of expose people to all of those great stories that you have right there on the bottle?
Oh, absolutely. So well, first of all, I think we have to give tribute to where it's due. Crystal and I have a lot of things that are similar, but obviously we're different generations. So Seth over at the Tribe has been helping us with our branding, and he's just been amazing at actually bringing us together and kind of not forcing us to hug, because I'll hug Crystal all day long, but really getting the ideas that we had for the brand closer together. My idea was a very much of a almost like, let's not put a label on it because the moonshiners wouldn't put labels on it, right? And then and Crystal wanted something a little bit more refined and really that did honor to what the rum is, because it really is an excellent rum. So he got us together and blended our ideas. We wanted because it's a Puerto Rican rum, we wanted a Spanish name, but we wanted a name that would easily translate and be understood in English. So clandestino, clandestine, it's almost the same, the same word. It also pays tribute to the people that really have been carrying the traditions from when it started up until today. So that just made a whole lot of sense for us. It's kind of a cool name. Yeah, we are legal. We're paying taxes. We're doing all the different things. But still, when you see the name, it sort of has that paying tribute, right, to the actual folks and how they ran Moonshine and how it still sort of is run both on the island and Puerto Rico. Something very cool that Seth kind of proposed to us, and we fell in love right away, was the rubber band. So in Puerto Rico, the way the moonshiners operate is basically they mostly do it out of their farms. Everybody knows who they are. They just sometimes even the authorities know who they are. But because they buy from them, nobody bothers them. You go to their houses and you basically buy the moonshine. In the States, it's very different. In the States, the stills are hidden in the mountains. They don't want you to know where they are, right? So they would actually produce the moonshine. They would bring it into their cars, and then they would distribute, right? And then part of what they did was in between the bottles, they would put hay and they would put other materials
to buffer
in order to buffer the sound, so the bottles were not clinking, just in case they were stopped. And so this rubber band sort of pays homage to the moonshiners in the States, right? Because that's where we're operating. You know, we say this is Puerto Rican born, Maryland made, and really it's a nice marriage between our culture and what it has to offer, and the fact that we are in the States, and this is where this is what we call home, and this is where we want to introduce the product, and this is where we want people to know it and love it. So yeah, so we have that. We have a kind of pretty a very simple abbreviated version of the history of the rum in the back. We have
the Jibero man.
Yeah, we have the Clandestino man up at the top that has the moonshine and a very emblematic representation of, like Crystal was saying, the farmers up in the mountains are the farmers having a machete, which was an instrument that they used. Almost like they almost would not drop it because it was constantly either cleaning brush or knocking down fruit or doing different things. So it's one of their instruments. And it's emblematic also of the Puerto Rican culture. The machete is a representation of the working man. So the bottle, I mean, I think Seth it was his design. He did an amazing job of really capturing a lot of what we wanted to project with the brand. Yeah,
we had like a 22-point questionnaire that we had to fill, describing what we had in mind for the brand identity and where we wanted to fall throughout different points in the spectrum that a brand can pick from. And all throughout, we were actually on the same page about almost everything. But then when we had to submit visual representations of how we thought that got represented, we were completely opposite. So kudos to Seth for finding a way to kind of blend that. And yeah, we're both in love with the brand.
Oh yeah, we love it. We've gotten tons of review about the bottle, the branding, the imagery, the story, which is really what we wanted to do from the beginning. We just didn't want to bring another rum to the market. We wanted to go specifically. We wanted to create our own niche, really, because Pitorro doesn't exist commercially anywhere outside of the island. So we are really providing a product that is very unique, special. Those that are from the island that know it love it already. So we knew we had a market there. Those that are not from the island that have been to the island and have tried it, love it. Those that have never been to the island and are trying Clandestino are falling in love with it. So, I mean, we have really high expectations for where our rum can go.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've definitely done a great job with the brand, and I have personal experience having been a customer of Seth's in the past, and I'm now fortunate enough to call him a friend. I think he did a great job for you. I also think that both of your approaches to the aesthetic of what you're doing, not only with the spirit itself, but with your brand really comes through when you're in your tasting room. It's beautiful. You see the culture coming off the walls with the artwork that you have, but you've still kept everything very refined and in line with what you're doing in the bottle. And I think that's very admirable.
Thank you. That was the goal. So we're glad to hear that it's coming through. We've gotten a lot of compliments on our tasting room. We're getting ready to open it. We initially we're going to probably do it by appointments to make sure that we can still keep people safe and keep ourselves safe. But we definitely are looking forward to when we get past this whole thing, and then it could be just a place where we can talk about rum, talk about culture, and really kind of bring it all together.
So now that we know a little bit about what the base Moonshine rum is, can we talk about your traditional recipe and kind of what inspired you to bring this to the forefront as your first doctored release or infused release? Because this is wildly delicious. I think that when you mentioned the ingredients to us, Crystal, I think we all kind of took a step back and we're like, really? We can't fathom this yet because it's new to us. And we all tasted it and we're blown away. So if you can tell us a little bit about that, I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so here we have our bottle of traditional Clandestino, which is actually from my grandfather's recipe. The ingredients that you're talking about are the raisins, cranberries, and prunes. So my great-grandfather's generation would basically drink Pitorro, unblended, straight up. Those guys were hardcore.
And that's still a good idea to do. So the base and what you're starting with.
Yeah, that's true. So, and that's how the traditional originates. We take the Clandestino that everyone else has as well, and we infuse it.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandfather's generation would take raisins and prunes and infuse them for a few weeks, a few months. And get that kind of mellow flavor.
Right. The more it's just like blending flavor into Pitorro is the same thing as when you say wine. The more you let it, you wait for it, the better it's going to be.
Right.
It's called traditional because, as Crystal mentioned, this is almost like the very first recipe that came out of generations before us.
It is a little bit of a tweak because Bob took it to the next level by adding cranberries. So the cranberries have a nice little tartness that I think really helps to balance out the flavor profile overall. So that's raisins, cranberries, prunes, plus Pitorro, and you have traditional.
Yeah, and so I think as you mentioned, you took a step back with some of the ingredients. I think mostly when people hear prune is where they take that step back. But the reality is it is because we start with a strong rum, and because it's just 1/3 of the ingredients is that prune.
And it's only 6 to 7 weeks.
And it's only we age it 8 weeks. That's all we age it. So it's just enough to release flavor into the actual rum that does a really good job of adding a very nice tone to it. We used to say that it's like a nice brandy, but less sweet. We stopped saying that because some people say yes, they agree with us, and some people say that it doesn't. So now we let people kind of tell us what they think, and the most important thing is that they told us that they love it, regardless of whatever it might compare to. And again, it's a rum, so it's not going to be like necessarily anything else. It is very, very, very unique.
I definitely agree that the prune ingredient listing may have been the one that got everybody a little bit not confused. I think that I would like to say that we were all very eager to try it because it's so atypical for something that we're used to hearing as an addition. You think of restaurants or bars that have great cocktail programs or spirits programs, and if they're doing house infusions, it's very rare that they're using all fruit or especially dried fruits to get across some of these flavors. Most of the time you'll see, like you just showed off, fresh kiwi or fresh pineapple or, zest of lemons. But to have these really great, rich flavors coming through, I think was just so welcome. And I think that it was such a surprise. So kudos to you on that. I can't stop saying enough about it because it's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we did, our first batch was just 200 bottles. and it's only been out for a couple of weeks, and we're almost out. So
we have more coming.
Yeah, we have other batches coming after that. But the truth is that it exceeded our own expectation for the people that were looking for it. As soon as they got it, they got more, and people that weren't familiar with it, they got one bottle, they came back for another one.
Yeah.
And it's been very well received. So,
yeah,
so we're very happy about that.
Which is, a sigh of relief on our end, but it took us, let's see, we opened mid-March, right when everything was closing down. And so
perfect timing.
Huh?
Perfect timing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're moving forward. So we opened mid-March, and it was up until how long? Like 2 months, about 2 months of us only being able to say, we have one rum. Like, what else do you have? We have this one rum, and we have now some cocktails, 2 cocktails. But when you go to a distillery and they only have one thing to offer, we're like, just wait, just be patient. Like we're gonna like really come out with a bang. And so I'm excited that we started off with traditional. It's obviously got a lot of significance for us. It's our family recipe. Next, hopefully by the end of July, we're going to be coming out with our third bottle, so second flavor of almond. So we all have that to look forward to. And, so we're just trying to like slowly roll out the multiple expressions that we can do.
And again, this is for the people that want to have their Pitorro flavored for them.
Oh yeah.
Part of the tradition is that you do it. This is very artisanal. We would love it if we were able to grow in Maryland a fan base that was akin to the homebrew on the beer. In essence, because it takes us being able to distill. We are the ones that will distill, and they'll get our rum, but they're the ones that actually take our rum and do the infusing of the flavor. And we've already gotten some very, very cool recipes done by people and then shared on social media back to us saying, hey, I did it with this and I did it with this other flavor.
Yeah, so they'll ask us like, what should I do in this way? And I'm running into this problem, any advice? And we love it. Like we'll spend, tons of time on those just because we want that type of interaction. For us to get a bottle out, we have to go through, we have to go through federal approval. We have to get our labels done. And then we can make it to the masses. We have to do it in enough quantities. So we want people to make their own blends. We tell them everything that they need to know. We, take your Clandestino. We have blending bottles so people can, divvy it up as necessary. And, we'll coach you through if you have any questions, but, you don't have to wait for us. You can do your own blend.
Well, there's certainly nothing better than the interactive experience of being able to, be a part of the final experience, putting something into a glass that you want to share with your friends that you had a hand in coming up with. I think it's really a wonderful way to engage people. And I think you found a great solution with what's going on with these virtual engagements that you're doing, showing people how to infuse with the different ingredients that you've been using. And I know that you said that you had a couple of very engaged folks who have been suggesting some ideas to you, and you're trying those slowly and seeing how they might incorporate with what you have lined up. As you continue to cultivate this idea of being the hookup for this great moonshine spirit, what words of advice do you have people who want to run out, grab your Clandestino and start infusing it? What can you tell people to do when they approach their infusion themselves? I think I shared earlier, Kelly said that her husband would like to do a fruitcake infusion with his because he apparently loves the flavors of fruitcake. Right. But they're very excited about experimenting on their own. Do you have any guidance for that?
Yeah, so we have a couple of tips that are sort of staples of when we do our workshops and we teach people.
Yeah, this guy's got 30 years of experience blending, so I'll let him take the lead on that.
Yeah, so in reality, even though some people are intimidated by it, the actual infusing flavor into your own Pitorro, into your own Clandestino rum is very easy. It's really only the rum, which we'll provide for you. a flavoring agent, a sweetening agent, and then time, which time is as much as you give it. So in reality, all you need to be able to figure out is how to add the flavor to the rum, and then some ingredients. For example, if you add fruits and they're already sweetened, you're doing both. You're doing the sweetening, and you're doing the adding of the flavor. If it's not, then you might have to add either sugar or honey or something else to it. What we tell people for the most part is, as long as you're starting with a flavor that you like, then you probably cannot go wrong, right? You might have to do something depending on how you infuse the flavor. For example, right? We have a video that we showed how to infuse coffee into Clandestino, and obviously, once you have to actually add the coffee, the grains into it, you have to filter it out. So there's those things, right? You have to be able to understand that if you add flavor, then for it to be a final product that's clean that you can drink, you have to be able to do some processing. But as long as you understand that, then you can really use any agent to flavor. On the sweetening side, the other step that is important, we have what's called the crystal rule. So I like my Pitorro sweeter than her. So I already have for the bottle, I already have exactly how much sugar I know I want to add. And if you go watch our videos, you'll see that Crystal says, don't add as much as Dad said, because you might not like it as sweet as he likes it. So, and you can add more sugar, but it's hard to take the sugar out. I mean, you can obviously do other things like maybe add more rum to try
to dilute it.
Dilute it, but then it gets more complicated, right? So that's the crystal rule. Add less sugar than what we recommend in our videos, and then try it, and then it might be good for you. But if it's not, then you can always add a couple ounces more sugar, and you'll be good. My main advice is have fun with it, right? I'm the kind of person that doesn't throw away Pitorro, so if I did something wrong, I'm gonna drink it. But another crystal rule is that experiment with a smaller amount, and then once you know that you have what you like, then basically you can make a whole bottle or a gallon out of that.
Yeah, learn from our lessons, watch our videos. You can skip a lot of heartache that way.
Absolutely. So Puerto Rico Distillery, just like that, on YouTube, you'll find our channel, and we shared most of the techniques for adding flavor to rum, which is with concentrates, with extracts, with fruits, and then blending flavors together. Right. And then we have some other videos where we've interviewed people that have done this and have their own techniques and approaches.
Right. The one most recently with Melanie, she is very scientific about it. So we actually got into some pretty nitty-gritty techniques that were educational for all of us.
Yeah, she's a chemist, so she actually showed us how to actually dry our own fruit before you actually put the fruit into the rum in order to age it, to keep it strong. So yeah, and if there's any questions, you can shoot us an email. Puerto Rico Distillery @gmail.com is the group. We have our individual one, angel.rivera@PuertoRicoDistillery.com, crystal.rivera@PuertoRicoDistillery.com. But we have one that it's the one that we use for sort of the collective one to make sure we don't miss anything. If anybody has a question, either before or during or after they do their own flavoring, just shoot us an email, and we'll get on there and we'll give you tips on either how to do it before or how to fix it afterwards.
Yeah, we were joking.
So if you can give everybody a tip right now, what's the one thing that you've tried that you would absolutely not do again?
The lemon?
There's definitely some mistakes. So I did one that was with the goji berry, I think that's what it's called. And goji berry was one flavor that was very difficult for me to then get it from the flavor that was very harsh to a more mellow and sweeter rum that I liked. But I have a friend, JB Sotomayor. He actually pulled it off quite nicely. So again, it's almost like there's nothing that you can't do unless as long as you do it right. One thing that it wasn't me, but Crystal still does not forgive me for this.
No.
Is we went to we were in Puerto Rico on one Christmas, and I went out looking for Pitorro because I was out. I went to somebody that told me that they had it, and they had a technique that they would basically prepare it for you, and it was almost ready to drink right on the spot without any aging, without any time. And what they really did was they actually took the Pitorro and they took those bottles of syrup. I think it was coconut syrup, and they basically took the bottle and dumped it in with the rum. So it's like a very sugary.
It was so gross.
It was bad.
The technique that sold him on it was that they were letting him taste actual good Pitorro while he was waiting for him to make it.
It was Christmas, and I was desperate for Pitorro, so I fell for it. So there's definitely things that you could do that are wrong. I think that if you go to our videos, follow them, you'll be on safe grounds.
Yes, go and watch those videos. I think that's a great way to learn more about what you're doing as you attempt this yourself and make your own masterpieces with this unique expression. It sounds to me from that answer, though, that maybe using natural ingredients and real fruits might be better than something that's like an extract, like a syrup or something. Is that the case?
That's what I prefer. And so anytime that you're working with fruits, whether you're going to use it fresh or you're going to dehydrate it before you do any infusing, that's going to take into the water content of the fruit is going to have an impact on it. So that's something to consider. The sugar content, how much fructose it has. So anytime that you're looking at any of that, those are all going to have an impact on the final result. I like dried fruit, and I prefer my dried fruit organic because it doesn't have the sulfite preservatives to it. But I like the dried fruit that has added sugar already. So these are all kind of factors to consider.
Right. So we did mention the concentrates, and I agree with you. Concentrates are more difficult to manage, but some flavors are very difficult for you to actually get the fruit. And that's why, you almost get forced to actually use some of those. What I would say is for the concentrates, it's the same. I would apply the crystal rule, right? Start with much less than what you think. All of these concentrate manufacturers have a recommended amount per the volume. Most of them are for making juices. Pitorro is our juice, so you can use that one as your starting point, but then use less.
Because you can always add.
And then because you can always add, and then see how if it's strong enough, or if it gave you the flavor that you're looking for.
Sounds like very sound advice. Come in with a light hand and then tweak it up if you need to, but heavy-handed may not be the way to go.
Absolutely. I mean,
unless you like things angels with.
To fix it, even if you do that, you can add more rum if you added too much flavoring agent. But then it's almost you have to hit the reset button and then sort of recalculate how much sweetener you added into it, whether honey or sugar, and then you're starting back at square one as far as the aging. I recommend that most Pitorro you at least give it a month. Depending on some of the recipes, maybe 2 or 3 months. So when you do that, you correct it, but then you're again starting all over again,
right.
And you have to be patient with it.
Well, I appreciate all of that guidance. I think people will find that very helpful when they decide to start playing along and making their own flavors at home. So what do you guys have going on this weekend? What's keeping you busy? What are you going to be doing into the 4th? And then what do the next couple of weeks look like for you? And how can people come out and support you?
This weekend we're open for 4th of July.
Right.
So you can find us here at the Hearts building. We're facing the airport and a couple units over from Dragon. So we're right here in Frederick. Looking at Mark's comment, toss some mango into our most recent Pitorro. Nice, Mark. But yeah, we are also on Saturdays, we're at the Field Fresh Farmers Market here in Frederick, and we're available here by curbside. We also have an artist. You mentioned the art that's in our tasting room. Benji is going to be here for a Meet the Artist session where we're doing it by reservation, 15-minute sessions to actually meet the man behind the beautiful piece of art that's on our founder's wall. That's Saturday. Saturday's busy.
Yeah. The Saturdays tend to be busy, but they're a lot of fun too. We meet a lot of people. We enjoy the talking to people about it and actually getting people's reactions and histories and having people come back and telling us that they saw our videos and did something and try it out. It's just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun.
So over the next few weeks, we're just kind of chugging along. Find us at our website, PuertoRicoDistillery.com. For our online store, we are still operating by curbside pickup and deliveries within the state of Maryland. So for orders over 40, we'll take it straight to you. And what else?
We're preparing for that almond flavored Pitorro to come out.
That's right. We just ordered our labels.
Yes, we order our labels from Hub up in Hagerstown, and we are very excited about that one. We're being very selective about how we actually put out the flavors. Again, the actual Pitorro that had to be number one. The traditional is our family recipe that had to be number two. Almond is one of the favorite flavors in Pitorro on the island. So we know that's going to be a favorite as well. So that's why we went with that one. I think we're doing coffee after that one.
That's right. Yeah.
We just got our recipe approved, and we just sent I sent to Seth, who was orchestrating all our labels, the green light to get that over to Hub so we can get that out.
That coffee we're actually getting straight from Puerto Rico. Just follow us on social media for most up-to-date information if you want to find out about new releases, where we are, all that stuff.
And go out and support this awesome business. Their products are great. It's a cool story. I mean, it's so awesome to hear something that most of us have never heard about before and get the opportunity to really become engaged with and be a part of if we get to take these great spirits home and tell our stories with them. And I appreciate that you're making that available to people and you want people to be a part of what's going on. So that's just so very cool. I apologize for bothering you at the farmer's market over the weekend for the coffee. I really, really want to try that when you have it in bottles. So I guess I'll just have to wait and come back. That's a great thing.
That's right.
And I hope you have a safe weekend. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day today to come and share your story with us. Again, this is Puerto Rico Distillery in Frederick. They are right out by the airport, just a couple of doors down from Dragon Distillery. So you can go and visit two wonderful members at once, have a wonderful afternoon, and pick up some great spirits to take home. All I ask is that if you do choose to imbibe this weekend, do it safely. Keep your family safe and have a wonderful time. For more information about the Maryland Distillers Guild, check us out at marylandspirits.org. And please go follow our friends at Puerto Rico Distillery on social media. Check out their YouTube channel and follow the link in the chat for their online store. Order your spirits and go pick them up. Have a great time. Thank you very much.
Brian, thank you. Appreciate it.